In this video, I'll be running through the 3 reasons why you shouldn't be running TikTok ads if you're a 7-figure direct-to-consumer e-commerce brand. So here's why. Most brands can reach 500K plus per month in revenue with just Google and Facebook as their primary advertising channels for new customer acquisition. But the obvious question here is, can we just add TikTok in and get to that 500K per month mark even faster? It normally won't result in you getting to that 500K or that 6 million annual revenue any quicker by adding in that third sales channel. And here's 3 reasons as to why. Number 1 is the impact on short-term cash flow. Similar to Meta, with TikTok, you'll need to allocate a dedicated testing budget. And the issue with the testing budget in the first 1 to 2 months is it's going to be a 100% budget allocation towards testing, which means that as a proportion of your total media spend, you'll now have a much higher allocation towards testing. Maybe previously 20 to 30% of your total spend was going towards testing new audiences, testing new creatives, testing new iterations, campaign structures, angles, USPs, etc. Now that's up to 40% or 50%. This is going to impact your short-term cash flow and then restrict the reinvestment rate into further advertising scale, which is going to prevent you from actually hitting that 500K per month mark as quickly as you would like, as the allocation towards testing in the short term negatively impacts cash flow. Number 2 is less time spent on Meta and Google. Now, as you spend less time on Google and Facebook, it dilutes your focus, which dilutes your time, which inherently will dilute performance. Now, there's an easy objection to this right here, which is, well, we could just go and get a TikTok agency. That's not going to mess with our Google and Facebook agency. And then they can have 100% focus, dedication to be able to execute and get us the performance that we need. There's a few issues with that. If you're going to launch into TikTok as a 7-figure D2C ecom brand, you're likely not going to be launching with enormous budgets. You're probably going to test it out with between $2,000 a month to maybe on the upper end, $10,000 a month of budget. An agency fee is going to sit between $2,000 to $4,000. So it really just doesn't make sense for you to be paying an agency fee for such a small amount of ad spend. It's going to immediately half your return on ad spend if you're looking at aggregating the agency fee into a part of that media spend. For example, if you're looking to spend $2,000 and then you're going to have to pay a $2,000 retainer, you're technically paying $4,000. So you need double the ROAS. And achieving double the ROAS while in a testing phase on a completely new platform that you don't know what works yet on that platform is incredibly, incredibly unlikely. And that leads into a heavy creative requirement. TikTok creative fatigue sets in much faster than Facebook. In some instances 10x faster, where a piece of creative on Facebook will work for 10 months, on TikTok it will only work for a single month. Now, what this means is that you're going to need some kind of creative production team in place before you can scale effectively on the platform. Or else you'll find creatives, they'll work, they'll fatigue, and then you constantly need to reiterate and refresh the creatives within the account. If you don't have that capacity built into your team at the moment, then TikTok just will not work as a scalable solution over the long term. And you'll continue to end up in a position where you see a really strong return on ad spend, the creatives fatigue. For that 1 to 2 week period while they're fatigued, the average of your ROAS gets drawn back down to pretty much break even or potentially negative cash flowing on the platform. And the reality of it is that most businesses that are at sub 500K per month simply don't have a creative production team in place. They aren't able to create new content on a week-to-week basis in terms of production, and they also aren't able to do the post-production on a week-to-week basis, being graphic designers and video editors, able to chop and change and make new creative, add different USP overlays, change hooks, change styling, change music, etc. And this is not to mention the cost of creative that then needs to be factored into the ROAS from the platform. A lot of marketers, a lot of agencies will look at just direct return on ad spend in platform. The issue with that is it doesn't take into consideration the actual cost of creative. Let's say that you went to launch on TikTok and you spent $10,000 on ads at a 4 return on ad spend. So you generated $40,000 in back-end revenue. But it cost you $6K to go and make the creative for TikTok. You went and paid some creators, you went and got some new content, overall $6,000 in new content. Your ROAS then is actually a 2.5. As you didn't really spend $10,000 on ads, you spent $16,000 on ads. And the second these creatives fatigue, you're going to have to go and get new ones. And particularly with how quickly creators fatigue on TikTok, you're going to be put into a situation where this is going to be a commonality on a month-to-month basis. You might see profitability from a direct return on ad spend perspective in platform, but when we actually zoom out for a second, we'll note that the total investment rate into TikTok isn't paying off. So just to recap, the 3 reasons why you shouldn't be looking to scale into TikTok if you're a 7-figure e-com brand is short-term cash flow, the impact that it has on your proportion of ad spend that gets allocated towards testing budgets. Number 2 is you spend less time on the 2 primary acquisition channels, being Google and Facebook, diluting time, diluting focus, which dilutes performance. And then number 3 is there's a heavy creative requirement to be successful on TikTok over the long term and to scale it to $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a month in spend, which typically D2C small brand owners don't have the resources in place to enable such rapid reiterations of creative.